An instructor is a person who passes on the art of knowledge to a group of people. During theory, you will play the role of instructor. You are instilling knowledge and understanding into your nurse aide students. A trainer is someone who has knowledge and practical skills in a specific topic that he or she transfers through sessions, exercises, case studies, and examples, along with presentations and demonstrations. During Skills Lab, you will play the role of trainer. You are training your nurse aide trainees specific nursing tasks and skills. As an ASAP instructor, you will be teaching a diverse group of students who have differing strengths and weaknesses. Therefore, it's critical that you be flexible, fair, and consistent with your teaching methods. It will take more than just medical know-how to be an effective instructor. You must have good public speaking skills, facilitation skills, and evaluation skills, and you must have the ability to effectively communicate with your students. Whether you're a first-year instructor or experienced, you must exude confidence during your instruction. If you stumble through your lectures or second-guess yourself, your students will not find you credible and will have very little respect for you. During your role as instructor, you will want to create, implement, and maintain classroom guidelines. Declaration of guidelines should be accomplished day one of training. Don't forget to encourage your students to participate. Be knowledgeable of the information you present. Research the topic ahead of time so you can be ready to confidently respond to questions. Preview lecture material at least a day or two before you give instruction. Present lectures in a manner that will capture your students' attention, interest in the subject matter, and keep them engaged. Recognize and understand your students' learning styles. Alter your teaching style in a way that will benefit your students' way of learning. Know your students. Recognize, identify, and resolve student behaviors that could have a negative effect on their successful completion of the training program. Invite guest speakers who have experience in the field of study you are lecturing on. Implement strategies that will make the learning environment fun, yet conducive, such as games, role play, and friendly challenges. Allow your students to act as instructor for at least 5 or 10 minutes of class time. Let them teach their classmates what they have learned. One of the most important measures to take as a nurse aide instructor is to create, implement, and maintain classroom guidelines. These guidelines should be set in place day one of training. Why guidelines and not rules? As the old saying goes, rules were made to be broken. On the other hand, guidelines are made to be periodically reviewed and revised. According to the Cambridge English Dictionary, guidelines are information intended to advise people on how something should be done or what something should be. Let's look at a quick comparison between rules and guidelines. Rule: no cell phones. Guideline: turn off cell phones to lessen distractions. Rule: no sidebar chatter. Guideline: keep sidebar chatter to a minimum to maximize your learning and understanding of the lecture topic. Rule: no heads on desks or tables. Guideline: all eyes on the instructor and whiteboard. This will help you gain knowledge and understanding of the lesson. Rule: do not be tardy or absent. Guideline: perfect to good attendance is necessary to successfully complete this training program. Rules tend to send out negative vibes. Guidelines, on the other hand, send out positive vibes, as rationales are given with each classroom norm. Here are just a few tips to help you become and stay an effective instructor. Classroom guidelines. Stand by your guidelines throughout the training program. This will earn you respect and credibility from your students. Give your students an opportunity to partake in the declaration of classroom guidelines by allowing them to create guidelines that are important to them. Knowledge is power. You should be knowledgeable and familiar with what you are instructing your students. Do your own research to learn more about the subject matter. Display confidence and know-how. Preview your instruction materials, including PowerPoint presentations, handouts, games, and challenges, at least a day or two before you give lectures. Keep your students engaged. Make learning fun. Instruct off of the chair and from behind the desk or podium. Stand on the front line. Utilize your whiteboard, flip charts, and other props to the fullest extent. Become animated. Instruct with fire and spark. Liven up the boring blah 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 lecture. Use your imagination and creativity. Be innovative. As a trainer, you will be training your students on how to perform testable, hands-on skills and other manual nursing tasks. It's vital that you are able to perform such skills with confidence, know-how, and ease, as you will need to properly demonstrate these skills to your trainees. Another vital aspect to your training is ensuring your clinical lab is set up in a way that depicts a real-life resident's room. To take it a step further, visit your testing site and set up your clinical lab area to mimic the testing site setup. This will familiarize your students on how things will look before they even test. Ensure your supplies are organized in a file cabinet or on a bookshelf or table. Here are just a few characteristics that will help you become and stay an effective trainer. Be well versed with the Nurse Aide Candidate Handbook. Be knowledgeable and have a comprehensive understanding of the hands-on skills you are training your trainees. Have strong communication and interpersonal skills. Be an innovator and be creative. Embrace efficiency and consistency. Give corrective criticism when necessary. Continuously give consistent positive feedback. Use clear, concise language to train, direct, and coach. Utilize your active listening skills. Be patient. Trainees will make mistakes while they are learning. Understand the value of your training. Be a role model for your trainees. Keep in mind that your students' performance is a reflection of your training. Measure and evaluate student performance in a timely manner. Be enthusiastic. Be organized. Be passionate and encourage feedback. So, what do you do on the first day of training that makes your class interesting and your students wanting to learn more? In the next few slides, you're going to learn how to get and keep your students interested and engaged in the training program within the first week of training. It's the first day of training. If you're a new instructor, you may feel a little apprehensive and nervous. Don't worry, this is normal and will pass. If you're an experienced instructor, you're probably ready to catch and tackle the curveballs. But whether you're a novice or experienced instructor, you have to remember that your students are new. They're going to be nervous and excited as they tread on the unknown. On the first day of training, greet your students at the door as they enter the classroom. This is a much warmer welcome than greeting them while seated behind your desk. Introduce yourself and give your students a short bio about your career, who you are, and why you became a NatSap instructor. After your introduction, call on students by name to the front of the class and have your students introduce themselves to their classmates. Have them tell the class why they are participating in this training program. Introducing yourself and your students in this manner is discreetly prepping them for interpersonal skills and relationships. After your introductions would be a good time to review the classroom guidelines. Remember, encourage your students to participate. Make sure you have a printout of the guidelines to give to your students. To take it a step further, have a second copy for your students to sign and place the signed copy in the student's file for referencing. Introductions and declaration of classroom guidelines will probably take up about 30 minutes of class time. Thus, time management is essential, especially if your class periods are an hour and a half or less. As a facilitator, you will have to adjust time frames for these activities respectively. This is why it's very important for you to have everything organized beforehand. Now, it's time for the dreaded paperwork. Any forms needing completion of and signatures, such as photo and media consents and immunization consents, should be accomplished on day one of training. Allot at least 15 minutes for this activity. You've already filled almost 45 minutes of class time. Depending on the length of your class period, you may not have much time remaining. Again, as a facilitator, you will have to adjust activities accordingly. At this time, you may present the day's lecture. For most NatSaps, the first lecture is usually Introduction to Long-Term Care Facilities, which may take approximately 30 minutes to complete. After your lecture is given, and if your class period is 1.5 hours or more, you should be able to fit in a quick synopsis of the lecture and introduce your students to the next day's lecture topic. It's a good idea for instructors to have their students write a personal mission statement. This will give your students reason to strive for success, as they will be challenged to live up to their own training program mission. Also, to show your support, you should complete an instructor mission statement. On day 2, before your lecture, read your instructor mission statement before your students. Then have your students come to the front of the class, one at a time, to read their mission statement. After the readings, have the students pin their mission statements on the bulletin board or specific area on the wall. Now, their mission statements will be public for all to view. The next slide shows an example of how you may format the mission statement form. You will also find a downloadable and printable version under the Resource tab. On the second day of training, at the beginning of the class period, The instructor should reiterate classroom guidelines and ask students if they've thought of any more norms to add. Allow at least 15 minutes for students to present mission statements. You'll want to recap yesterday's lecture and offer a 10 to 15 minute question and answer session. Now you may begin the day's lecture. After the day's lecture, give a brief synopsis of the lecture and inform students of the next day's lecture topic. Offer another 10 to 15 minute question and answer session. The next few days should be a repeat of day 2, depending on your classroom lesson plan, which you will learn more about in the next module.